14th podcast, and we had to re-record the pod because the poverty Yankees and Red Sox could not match the New York Mets offer. Blue Jays fans, take a seat in that cuck chair and enjoy from the sidelines. We did it. Juan Soto was out of our division. Holy shit. Avery, immediate thoughts. I mean, 765 million is...
It doesn't mean shit to be in pinstripes in the Bronx anymore.
What happened to the game I love, man?
It means literally not. This is like smile across my face. You guys will get to hear what we said about this very topic, so it'll be very funny for you guys to hear. You might hate it, but we're keeping it in. But Juan Soto is a New York Met. He did not go to the great history of going back to the Bronx. He went to the World Series this year, and that wasn't enough to keep him in the Bronx. The Boston Red Sox, so much history. We get a bunch of big free agents. Couldn't land Juan Soto. Just wanted a lot of money, man, and he goes to the Mets. It is so awesome. I'm so happy. The Yankees fans.
I might watch. Listen, I think these guys are like, I will never like.
Talking Yanks is must listen to again.
We don't give free ads to other pods, but Talking Yanks is must watch television tomorrow. Must watch. I might double listen to it. I might give them both the views. I might listen on the way to work and then watch it.
Yes.
I might do both.
I might watch while I'm driving to work too. That's how good I want to see it. This
I'll tell you
is
what, man,
the best thing ever. He made a ton of money. We knew he was going to make a ton of money, and they drove the price up on everyone else. I feel fine being in the Blue Jays position. Like, it would have been sick, but to me, it was just never happening. And I think it was we did shelter ourselves off from that from last year.
I think we fairly knew it wasn't going to happen. Like, right? Like, we were pretty.
Yeah, they were going to offer a lot of money. It was going to be the Mets. Or it was going to be the Yankees, in my opinion. I think I'll say this later in this episode. But Juan Soto got fucking paid. No deferrals in the money. He is going to make the money now. That is an awesome contract. Baseball rocks so much goddamn money.
It is just, Avery, I just like, again, I was trying to spin zone it to where it was like, all right, if he signs with the Yankees, they still suck. They're kind of still a wagon if they would have signed him, to be honest with you. Like,
he can make a lot of teams good.
A full year of Jazz Chisholm as well, probably. Like, I cannot, dude. Mets fans, I hate to say it, they deserve this shit. Like, haven't won a World Series since 1986. Been to 2 World Series since then, I believe. Lost both to the Yankees and to the fucking Kansas City Royals. It's just awesome. It's like, this is.
It is so good.
We are cucks. I need someone to make the graphic, by the way. Me and Avery standing. We are cucks on the Blue Jays, not signing Juan Soto. This is unbelievable. I mean, the Red Sox now have to rely on young guns. If I'm Ross Atkins, give me Teo. I'm seeing a lot of Teo talk on the timeline. Are you as well? Right? Like, Teo or Santander, but apparently the Jays like Santander more than Teo.
Yeah, I think Teo goes to Boston and Santander's a Blue Jay.
Yeah.
I think that's how things are going to shake out here. Are you happier seeing this news or watching the Yankees Game 5 World Series?
No, this is way better.
Really?
I hate to say this. This is way, way better. It just, again, you lose the World Series, like, you forget about it, kind of like a year, 2 years down the road. They lost a generational talent, a guy that was was a dog at the age of 19 in the show, a generational superstar to play alongside El Capitan, Aaron Judge. Holy shit, this rocks. This is unbelievable.
This is so good for the AL East, like, for the Blue Jays' chances of competing this season.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't be any better. Oh, man. What do you think the Jays offered? What do you think the number is going to be when that comes out?
750.
Okay. Yeah, I would say so too. And it's one of those ones where you're negotiating a contract for work where you go to the other one and say, just give me a little more money and I'll sign with you. And that's exactly what happened with the Mets here, I think. So Steve Cohen got it done. God, man, it is so good.
I will say again, listen, I'm old takes exposing people on Twitter right now that are doing this. I'm just going bananas right now on Twitter. But How awesome would it be, Avery? Let's take a step back. Let's pull the curtain back. How awesome would it be to be a fucking Mets fan? I mean, holy shit. You have an owner that literally says he will never get outbid.
Awesome. How you should do it. Like
It's like
the only way it gets not sure the word I'm trying to say here, but it's like a green check and they continue to do it as if it results in winning World Series. Like he can't spend this and then the team suck. That's going to hurt his pockets. But if Steve Cohen can come out and do this, win a World Series in the next two, and then it's just like a green light. Okay, let's get these other cheap ass owners to start spending money because that's how you win. Like you want to go out and get these guys. So as I don't think you're going to get this is bad for baseball from anyone. I think people are going to say that's an absurd amount of money to play baseball. But again,
for sure.
That is not Juan Soto's fault that he's so good at the game.
It's not his fault. That's what the market is, man. Like,
yes, correct.
Yeah, it just, again, rejoice, Blue Jays fans, demons out of our division.
I think it's good for baseball because of what the Dodgers are doing too.
Yes.
Like they have someone to compete with them there. Like if there was no competition like this and no one's spending like this in the NL, it might be a little bit different, but I think that makes things good. And I think I said that last week as well. But the Yankees are dead, man. The Red Sox. I never thought he was going to the Red Sox. I never.
No, again, we talk like credit to us. We talked about this a million times. How many times do we say he's not going to be a Red Sox? A million.
Every time. We did
every time.
for
that
work.
Was never a thing, dude. Like we told them to stop buying into the bullshit. Like he was never going to be a Red Sox. Ever.
Yeah, you should tweet at Carabas and ask him if he's doing okay, if he needs any tips on what to do.
I'll do that right now. Do you need any tips
on how to handle this? This is an awesome day, man. Yeah, really good, John. I don't know what else we can say.
This is awesome. Like again, we're gonna keep it short. Tons to talk about in the podcast. We talked about other signings the Jays can make. So
we're gonna leave the little bit in. We're gonna leave the little bit in.
We'll leave the Soto bit in. But yeah, I think actually credit to us, to past us. We said in the pod like it's not gonna happen. So credit to us. Credit to us. We did
it. All right, guys. Yeah. Love you.
All right, now love you guys. Now we're gonna cut it to
the real podcast.
Us about to cut it to Ricky Romero. We're gonna cut it to the middle part of the sandwich of the podcast. Love you guys. Rejoice. Celebrate. We're on Santander Orteo watch. Love you guys. 14 podcast, and we are coming at you live straight from a Ricky Romero interview. That honestly kind of just stopped me in my tracks. I know we talk a lot about best interview we've ever done, That was everything and then some. Like that was way better than I could have ever expected. Avery, what was your thoughts on that? I mean,
yeah, it all depends on how much they're willing to share and how good they are at telling stories, pretty much. And he was awesome. So, yeah, if you guys, Roy Halladay and Ricky Romero are the reason. Like I helped fall in love with baseball, like 10 to 15 years old. Again, just in there, those guys were awesome. And then Ricky Romero, be able to talk to him, tell some stories again. He was awesome. So stay tuned for that at the end of this. But that was awesome. I said to you, I said, yeah, what, maybe 30, 45 minutes. And then just,
with those guys.
And then just an easy, I had more stuff too that it's like, I know he's a Niners fan and they're playing. So he probably wanted to go see that, but he was awesome.
Again, it's just like, that's a guy who, again, I know we've never talked about like third mic on here or stuff like that, but that's a guy who I could see being like a fill-in once a month or whatever, just to talk ball and give you a perspective from like playing in it that I'd be like, I think the listeners would love because he lets it fly. Like he was dropping F-ball. Like he was one of us. So I can't wait for you guys to listen to that. Don't skip what we're talking about right now to go, let's do it, but it will be coming soon. Winter meetings have begun. You have all the reporters just tweeting the exact same tweets every 2 days in the news cycle. 4 teams are favorites for Juan Soto. 4 teams are favorites for Juan Soto. They're up in the bidding. Where are you at with this, Avery? Because honestly, it is.
We know exactly what's going on. They don't need to tweet about it anymore.
It is really starting to piss me off. Like the 4 teams bullshit that just tweeted every second day that gets DM'd to me, which is fine. I don't care. But like, god damn, like just do what Passan does. 1 tweet, and that is it. You never talk about it again until it happens. It's crazy. The fucking the it just rent due tweets from these reporters, man. It is insane to me.
Yeah. It's they do make money from it. It's their job, so I understand why they do it. But again, they've painted the same picture of what's going on the whole time.
Yeah.
It's the Jays are going to spend the most money. He's probably going to go somewhere in New York, and Boston is there too. I've gotten the thought that Boston's like the Jays and Boston are obviously below the other two. I don't know how they put them ahead of each other. I don't know how he looks at them based on tax purposes. The Jays would have to pay more, a lot more than Boston to get to the same dollar figure that he would net out at the end. But again, I would like him to make the decision very soon. And yeah, so everything else can get started. But even yesterday, it felt like things got started again. I'll get this to you first. We still don't think Juan Soto is a Blue Jay, right?
No, 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 no. This is not happening. And I know tons of people on the internet would be like, "Oh, Johnny reverse jig." I
It
hate
feels different than
it.
Ohtani.
It feels different than Ohtani, but I just don't see a world you have to sell it to shareholders that you're going to pay a singular player 750, 800 million
Oh, well,
dollars.
I don't think we need to worry about that part.
No, I kind of am. Like, Steve Cohen will not be outbid. Let's make this as very clear as possible. That's the entire inkling of it. That's what everyone. I've used that word multiple times, by the way. This podcast, listen to the Ricky Romero pod, but that's kind of what the vibe is, right? It's like Steve Cohen will die trying. The dude has a fucking shark in his living room. Maybe I got maybe that actually isn't true, but we can say that's true. The dude's a trillionaire.
Yes.
Like,
And yeah, I'd agree, but everyone says the highest bid is the Blue Jays. So as much as I want to call them idiots, they know more than we know. And if they're going to say the Jays have the highest bid, then I'm going to believe them at this point.
yes,
Who cares?
I'll believe him. I just, again, I'm not.
It all just depends where he wants to play baseball. There's nothing else.
I'm not going to make myself vulnerable again, Avery. I'm sorry. I have my guard up.
Yes, you've been hurt, and it's hard for you to trust
It's
again.
like I'm not, again, like, will I go back to the girl's house for a one night stand even though it's toxic? Yeah, I'll run it back. But am I gonna go on a couple dates with her and then get shit canned?
Yeah, family
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna take her to Jacobs and like go want Juan Soto and high prize free agents are except like they're the toxic X right now. It's like, oh, the Jays have the highest bid. Cool.
Hey, but when you find the win or when you find the one,
the one is a wifey type, and that wifey type, I don't know what it is. Santander, I don't fucking know. Freed, I'm not really sure, but I am completely prepared for on like Monday or Tuesday when we're doing the stream to just 100% be like, yeah, why did like we knew this shit was out. He's not signing here.
yeah, I think we've put ourselves in that boat. But then it's gotten some people moving already, like Adamas yesterday,
Yeah.
O'Neill yesterday. And I need to take a step back from this point because I became this person and I have become this person of someone gets a lot of money. And it's like, oh, they overpaid. He's due for regression. Who cares if he's on your team? Who cares if he's on your team? It's pretty cool. And I will be that way with people who sign with the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah. And I'm letting you guys know that. I'm a fan. Yeah. I want good players on my baseball team. I don't care what money they spend.
And we've been in this boat and I'm going to walk back my word. Shocker. Santander on this team would fucking rock. I'm sorry. The guy's like sixth in baseball in home runs since 2022.
If he hit 40 home runs next year, it would be cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, he doesn't bring it.
What he does, and I don't care what he does in 2028. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. I care what he's doing now. And
we can deal with that when it comes.
Yes. Let us live in the moment and let us enjoy Anthony Santander now. I don't care about the future. It's like I'm not invested in stocks. I don't own any stocks. I don't give a fuck. I'm now. I want to see it now. So seeing a lineup with Bo, Santander, and Vladdy back to back to back, come. That's all I'm gonna say. Just like graphic, Johnny Junta, come. That's what that is. Like, fuck it. Honestly, that's where I'm at with it now.
Yeah, it's just gonna have to make that. You're just gonna have to make that happen. It's gotta be. It's the most obvious match made together from the free agent is Santander. I think. I know other people are talking to him too. Obviously, it's free agency.
No, but they won't cook for him, and He doesn't have with them what he has with us. You
No,
know.
like we'll start his car in the winter.
Yeah, we'll go. You know what? I also shoveled the snow off your car, uh, and
And
so
it's
you could
hot.
just leave. So
Yeah.
you could just leave. That's what I did for you, Anthony. But I am. I want Santander. Fuck it. I know. Listen, again, I've YJ's and I've talked about it with other guys. It's like it would be pretty cool to have a guy in the lineup that just can launch at will, kind of whenever. Pretty much. I mean, 40 bombs. Baltimore Orioles, you guys enjoy Tyler O'Neill. You enjoy that muscle freak who gets hurt every fucking 2 weeks. We want your scraps. Not really your scraps, but we want your prized possession. But yeah, I just want a transaction. Actually,
I'm at that point too. I mean, they signed Gary Sanchez yesterday. I would have loved to talk for 15, 20 minutes about Gary Sanchez with you yesterday. That's just that's just where I'm at. But we have
the El Kraken pod.
Yes, we have something going on Tuesday. Streaming is back. Streaming is back at 5:30 on Tuesday. And unfortunately, you have to piss your pants.
Yes.
And we're hoping the Blue Jays to get the first overall pick. So that is happening Tuesday. So stay tuned for that.
Well, we're on Legacy Week watch for our Toronto Blue Jays. Like, we could potentially get the first pick and we could have a transaction. Like,
it's not Soto, but we could have a transaction.
Well, yeah, not Soto, but we could have multiple transactions. I mean, they're all in the winter.
I like trades better than free agent signing sometimes because they're totally out of the blue.
Fair.
So I would be loving a trade this week for Seiya Suzuki, maybe.
Just to use the word fleece would be so sick again.
Yeah.
We have
speaking of trades, unfortunately, sorry to cut you off, John. One of the players didn't like his trade this week. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, Spencer Horwitz. I mended that bridge with Horwitz.
Okay.
Well, like we're doing a little bit of a good cop, bad cop with Horwitz. Like he loves me.
Yeah.
He obviously doesn't fucking hate you, but I'm just saying, like, I immediately I was like, that's why I don't come up with 10 trades. I don't want to get the text from Horwitz like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
So Horwitz, it was obviously a playful gesture.
You're not
the GM, first of all. So I
no. And I told him I was gonna get him a ring, and he loved that message after. So
Horwitz, and I got news, buddy. Like, if you played for the Phillies, you'd probably have a pretty good chance of getting a ring compared to the Blue Jays. Listen, that's just how the cookie crumbles.
I woke up 7:40 a.m. Spencer Horwitz, 2 messages. I was like, oh God, what is this? And he said it. I was like, oh, fuck me, man.
That's
it's the content. It's the content that people like,
Yeah, we're Horwitz guys. We've always has been. So he knows that. He knows we have his back. But just hilarious shit. When I texted him, I go, tough 10 trades, eh? He goes, yeah, what the fuck was that? Like, as a joke, like laughing emoji. And I go, just so we're clear, like, we would never want you traded. That's just a content thing. But then we talked about Gracie Abrams, and the bridge got kind of.
Thank you for mending that, John. I needed that.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. I'll actually we Gracie Abrams helps a lot, obviously, with that. He's a Gracie Abrams guy like me, so that's just kind of what we do. But that was a funny one. But one that I'm actually mad you didn't bring up now that I'm seeing the timeline, because I didn't even really know this guy was that fucking good. What's the deal with Seiya Suzuki?
He's great, man.
The guy had like a 130 weighted runs created plus. The guy's
yeah.
Every time Ricky T, I want the trade the farm for fucking Seiya Suzuki. I want Seiya. I'm Seiya pilled.
Yeah, he's good.
Sucking for Seiya.
That's really good. Yeah, Seiya Suzuki's awesome, dude. Cody Bellinger.
No.
There were talks of a Jordan Montgomery for Cody Bellinger trade.
Shit versus ass. That's what that would be. Exactly. That's what that trade would be. I do not want Bellinger in Toronto. We were pretty clear on that last year, I think, unless someone's going to take exposure.
Yeah, because he hit 290 with 2 strikes the year before. And it's like, that'll change. Who knows how much his overall profile will change, but he's not going to get that many hits with 2 strikes the next year. That obviously changed, but Seiya Suzuki's cool. And it's transaction week. Like, we have to have one, or I'm going to be. You know what my favorite thing about Ross Atkins is, John? I don't know if he's smart or an idiot. I don't know yet.
That he plays a good middleman role. It's like when you look at Dave Dombrowski, it's like this guy's kind of smart. Like, fields a pretty good team every single year. He's been a GM, won a World Series in the Marlins, for Christ's sakes. You look at Ross, you're like, is this guy smart, or is this guy like the village idiot? I just thought, like, is he? I would love to just get personal with one of his friends, what's the group chat like with Ross Atkins? Is he the guy everyone's ragging on, or is he the guy that's like, I'm too smart to have some conversations with some people? That's what I want to know about Ross. I'm trying to think what he would be. He plays a good middle ground. I really don't know if he's dumb or smart,
Yeah,
which is kind of awesome, to be
it
honest.
is. It is awesome.
With this podcast, we know like you're smart, I'm dumb. Like it's pretty clear. With
I
everyone,
wouldn't say
like,
I'm
in
smart.
terms of baseball terms, like with everyone you meet, you kind like John Schneider, dumb. Like just sorry, like that's just no shot at him. He'll probably never come on this podcast anyways. But like Charlie Montoyo, known dumb guy.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Legit known dumb guy. Ross Atkins, I'm just like, is he just too smart for? Is he like that really smart kid in the class that is like weird? Because he's like a weird guy, first of all. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. It's a great question actually to be asked. Is he like?
And I don't think we'll ever know. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, I don't think unless once he gets fired or like quits, or leaves the team, like then you'll hear stories from within the front office, like, oh yeah, this dude was like a serial idiot. Like this dude was like, I walked past his desk, he's playing Minecraft on his laptop. I actually don't know. That's actually a really good question. That's the Gate 14 difference. I don't think other podcasts are asking, is Ross Atkins smart or dumb? Like what's the middle ground there? But yeah, Sai Suzuki, I'm sucking for Saya. I didn't know he was that good, Avery. Hand up. I don't watch Cubs games. I don't go on my way to watch Chicago Cubs games, okay? I hate their fans. So that is wild. Sai Suzuki.
Yeah, I mean it's not a very favorable ballpark to hit at either. How old is he? 30. So like the same age as most of the free agents, right?
Yeah.
And
who are you giving up? Who are you giving up for him? Ricky T? To start at Ricky T?
Yeah, probably.
What do you do? Okay, here. Ricky T or Elvis?
No, too much.
Oh, shut the fuck. Fuck, I don't care about Elvis. Sorry.
No,
again,
I'm just saying two of them to get, like, you're probably giving up one of them. But again, why would they get a Relvis? They're trying to shop their second baseman. They have like Matt Shaw and guys come up as well.
Then they could trade Elvis.
I think they're looking for pitching. Their pitching is not good.
Bloss?
I don't even know if I would trade
Ricky T and Bloss.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what
a lot.
It is a lot, but he is cheap. Say, like he's not making a ton of money either. So, and he's got what, 2 more seasons after this, or just one? I think it's 2 seasons.
Yeah,
2 seasons left. Interesting. Yeah, like Seiya Suzuki's a good player who's not been able to play more than 140 games, and that's what his knock is right now. Like his major league weighted runs created plus is 129. He's coming off of 138 last year.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he's a good player.
So how about we split this up? We make him more healthy. He plays 110. George plays 50, 52.
Perfect.
That's a good split.
Yeah.
We'll just like minimize George. Let's try to capture lightning in a bottle with George Springer for 50 games. Like let's try to find August George for 50 games.
Yes, just for every game he plays.
Like George,
the best.
George, we're gonna get Seiya Suzuki. You're gonna play once every 5 days though.
He's a starting pitcher.
Yeah, whenever Gausman's on the mound, you're playing. That's your. It's like the Josh Tolley, R.A. Dickey thing. It's like whenever when Gausman's on the mound, Springer's in right. That's the guarantee. But you're paying him a lot of money per at bat. Probably it's probably more than
you might be the highest earning player in the country.
Yeah, that's a good selling point to him as well. But yeah, it's this is transaction week, baby. Come on.
We have. If we don't have one and we come back next week without a transaction, I am going to be insanely disappointed.
Yes, I was gonna say like there will be slurs said about. No, never mind. There will nothing.
You're not gonna say slurs, man.
I won't say slurs. But where I'm at right now with this is I just want to see the breaking and then Toronto Blue Jays at the end of the sentence on a tweet. Like, call me a slut, call me like a transaction slut, but like I just want to see Blue Jays in agreement breaking in a singular tweet, and then it's just immediate rock hard. Yeah, that's what I'll see, no matter who it is. Really, no matter who it is. But some moves happened this week. Our friend, Danny Jansen.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Ray. I don't know how I feel about this. Do you think, and again, I don't think Jano really watches that much baseball. Do you think he knows he's playing like 50 games out of 60 on the road with a newborn and like 2 kids and his wife? Like, do you think that crossed his mind? Or
I've no idea what crossed his mind, honestly. Whenever someone takes a 1 year instead of when you hear there's multiple multi-year deals out there, always like a head scratcher to me. Like if we should applaud these people or be like, okay, kind of what were we cooking here in our brains? But I mean, everyone's written it on the timeline. It's like, okay, Jano's finally going to stay healthy for a full season and then hit 30 home runs.
I
Yeah,
could see that.
that would be cool for him. I hope he doesn't do it against the Blue Jays, but no, I wish nothing but good things for Danny Jansen. And it's
Yeah,
funny that he's just going to do a tour of the AL East. It's all he's ever known, and he
I
doesn't.
would personally want to be out of the division if I was him, if I was a player, but he doesn't run from the grind, as True RGM says. He's running to the grind. So,
He is.
congratulations to Jano and his family. A marvelous day for Jano and his newborn. Now is your daddy's a multi-millionaire. Congrats. Pretty sick. Just to be born the year your dad signed a $9 million contract. Pretty cool. Um, other news: Baltimore Orioles. What the fuck are they cooking over there?
They just needed a right-handed bat for
But didn't they just sign El Kraken?
yeah, like those are two great guys against left-handed pitching.
And they moved the wall in, which is I think that's a little bit insider trading. You can't. It's a little fucked up,
No,
to be honest
teams
with you.
should fully move their walls in based on their lineup composition.
Here's a question for you: where's the line on moving wall? Like,
How close
how
can you make
close
it?
can you make a Major League Baseball wall? Because like, if I own a Major League team, I'd be like, it's 280 and left. We're putting it 280 and left, and like 280 and right, and then center will probably be like 350 maybe. But
What's the
what's the rule on that? I'd love to
what's
look
the
that up.
field in MLB The Show? It's obviously a classic stadium.
Ebbs Field or something like that.
No, 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 no. I can't believe I can't remember right now. I played enough the show. It's like 230 to right,
Let's
two
fuck it.
230 to left, and then
Reward
500 to center.
reward pulling the ball.
Yeah.
Reward pulling the ball. I think the Orioles should just keep moving it in every single year until they win a playoff game. Yeah, I shout out to the Orioles, but yeah, Tyler O'Neill, guy was pretty good last year. Never can't stay healthy to save his life. No
No, but
disrespect,
he
but
smokes lefties, and everyone they have on their team who's good hits left-handed.
yes,
So that's like the perfect mix for it as well. And I'm pretty sure Gary Sanchez is the same way.
Gary.
And like I think no, wait, Adley kills lefties, so maybe that one doesn't make
But here's the thing though about Gary Sanchez, Avery. I know we like to pick up the Yankees scraps, but he would have kind of rocked here. Him and Kirk platoon.
Oh my
Th-
God. Yeah, it would have been cool. Gary
that
Sanchez is a great baseball player. Like
Gary Sanchez rocks.
yeah, he is coming off 96 weighted runs created plus, but
That's fine.
he's a good baseball player.
Better than Heineman,
For
unfortunately.
your second catcher.
Yes.
And that is
Yes.
good. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, never mind. He can't hit. He's the better one hitting righties. I think that is going to be their thing. His career splits.
and he's like the laziest fuck to ever play the game, which is like another thing that I have a soft spot for. Like he just doesn't want to be there. It's kind of sick. Shout
yeah, I
out
mean,
Gary.
backup catchers getting 8-5 is funny.
I actually have been seeing this tons of thing on the Twitter timeline actually as of late, Avery. People saying, "Oh, look how much money starting pitchers are getting. The Jays got to kick tires on trading guys. We have good start. Why would we why would we trade good starting pitchers when it's hard to come by in free agency? It's expensive. Why not just keep the guys we have that are starting pitchers that are good?
Yeah, that would make sense if they are getting traded for a lot of pieces. That's when it's different. But if
Like
you're
trading Bassett is just, in my opinion, dumb as fuck.
yeah, the only reason you trade them is to try and get prospects. Is it like you're trying to rebuild it, right? So I don't. That
Yes,
doesn't make too much sense to like trade him.
they're clearly trying to win. So why, if your team is in win now mode like Toronto Blue Jays are they doing well of it? That's a discussion for another time.
Yes.
But why would you trade a guy that is like gonna eat 200 innings for you and give you like a 4.3?
Yeah, I mean, she's probably going to be 184.3, but again, that's really valuable to get through a season like that. Like, you need someone to do that so your bullpen isn't dead by the end of it,
Yeah,
and gives you a good chance to win some baseball games. Yeah, I mean, unless you're worried about money, where you need to offload Bassett to sign Fried or Burns, that's the only way. that makes sense if people talking about how much people are going for.
Yeah, and you kind of have a gripe to pick here with meetings. I'm not a meeting guy. I want to make that very
I
clear.
hate
Yeah,
meetings
I'm
as
not a
well.
meeting guy. But we're starting to see Jay's met with Corbin Burns all over the timeline. What
The Jays should
why
be meeting with fucking everyone.
the
No,
Jays should honestly have like a revolving door of players just coming into the facility and just
yeah,
meeting.
like office hours for a professor. Just
Yeah,
come talk to Ross, see how much money you can get from him, and
yeah,
then on to the next one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Corbin Burns would rock. I'll say it. I'll come on. I mean, the guy was a Cy Young finalist, I believe. Correct? Top three.
Corbin Burns and Max Fried are good pitchers, and I would take them on my baseball team. And that's the least amount of nitpicking I'm going to do at this point in the offseason. I I don't care. Just get me a transaction.
Yeah. And yesterday, by the way, I got to bring this tweet to light because one of the greatest tweets that has ever graced my timeline is from yesterday, believe it or not. And a guy by the name of Gene Valeteus, I can't pronounce it, said,
Clearly.
um, Juan Soto signing in Toronto would make every single person working at Rogers question why they're paid so little, why he would make more than the entire media and mobile division. Gene, I got some great news for you. If when Ed from marketing could post like a 7 WAR in a season, we'll give Ed from marketing 700 million.
We'll
Okay?
give him a raise.
We'll give Ed a raise. I just read that tweet and I was like, this is the greatest spin zone ever.
Oh my God.
Like Ed from marketing goes into his office,
That's
manager's
like
office.
that's like us showing up to work and then being mad that Pat McAfee, who's gonna sign at our work, is making more money than us.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy who's like the best in the business at doing what we do right now.
Yes. It's it's so good. It's such a good spin zone. And it is awesome to me that that is a thought process of some people. It's like, I work for Rogers too. I work for Rogers. Why the fuck am I not getting at least a mil? Like, I hate to break it to you, man. Like, you're not generating any revenue for Rogers by working. Like, you're really not. Like, Juan Soto is guaranteed ass and seats sold out Rogers Center.
Yeah, he can put 38,000 people in seats for 81 games. You, yeah, you can sell the
Just
tickets for it, Ed.
it's again, that's why I'll never go to Blue Sky. These tweets, like this is what makes Twitter great. And that's like a genuine tweet, no troll from an old head. And it's just awesome. It's so good. So fucking good. So shout out to that guy.
Should we
for that
send
too.
it off to him? You got anything more?
Yeah, I got nothing more. We'll probably talk to you guys, like I said, live stream Tuesday. I believe. So what time does this start? Abe? Is it
5:30. 5:30
But
is
there's
what
got
I
to be some extracurriculars before, like it's not going to
probably
directly, right?
we'll go live at 5:30. We don't
Yes.
know when it'll happen, but we will be live at 5:30.
Yes.
Come hang out. That'll be on YouTube, Gate 14 podcast.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. And
That is the that'll be for the first overall pick. That's the draft lottery. That's why we're
Yes.
doing that.
yes,
So
7.5% chance, 100% faith.
exactly.
That's where we're at with that. Anyways, though, we're gonna kick it now to unbelievable interview. Can't wait for you guys to listen to this. It is Toronto Blue Jays legend, as some call it, Ricky Romero. We are now joined by the former face of the franchise, the former ace, all-star, Ricky Romero. Welcome to the Gate 14 podcast, Ricky Rowe. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? It's a pleasure to be here. And I've heard a lot about you guys and especially on social media. And honestly, finally glad to be making my debut on here, man.
I don't know if you know this, Ricky, but we went out together last year. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember it, but
Yeah, I think I remember. I didn't put two and two together at the time.
yeah.
Then when I saw you all over social media, I was like, wait.
So what happened was, for
Right.
listeners that don't know, it's a historic Gate 14 night. It was the Joey Bats retirement game, or jersey retirement game, and Guillermo texts me, meet us at Locals. So I go to Locals, and Guillermo's there, and I see you, and we just have a good conversation. I think Guillermo was just soaking drinks, money bags. Guillermo was soaking drinks, but that was a good night. And speaking about that, where do you rank Toronto going out compared to like other cities as a player? Because I'll tell you what, we've had some good nights with the boys on the team, so it rocks.
Number one, without a doubt.
Hell yeah.
This is like not even coming from somebody that played there. It's you talk. I mean, when back in the day when we were younger and we were, I feel like nowadays it's not as good as it once was, like as far as like a team going out and sharing a couple of drinks and stuff like that. But I remember when we go out with guys from the other teams and they were always just like, this is the best city in the major leagues. And it's funny because when you talk to older guys, they're like, Montreal is on another level compared to Toronto. And I was like, really? And they'd always tell those stories. And I'm like, wow. Like I thought Toronto was the greatest place. They're like, oh, you ain't seen nothing yet if you never been to Montreal. So I can just imagine how it was playing up there. But again, I think what separates Toronto from anything else is, you take away the nightlife and the food and all that, but it's honestly the people, man. And I think that's the number one thing that people always say, and players always say, it's the people that are there. They're very welcoming. It's such a cool city. I mean, you meet people from everywhere, all over the world, and I think that's what's pretty cool about it. And you don't get that anywhere else.
We're gonna
No, do
send
you,
that to Juan Soto, that pitch you just gave.
yeah, that was a
We're gonna.
perfect pitch. Perfect pitch for
Hopefully
you.
he's listening.
When is it a lot different, you think, with how major league guys handle it now based on when you were playing? Because we'll hear stories of guys from the 80s, 90s cruising all the time, going out, having an awesome time. And now you see some guys like Vladdy can't go out in this city pretty much
We went
ever.
out with
It's
him. We went out with Vlad. He got swarmed. Like it was like we had to get like a separate booth, and like it was he was stuck out like a sore thumb. Obviously, he's
and
Vladdy.
social media too also
Yeah.
plays a part in
That's the
that.
thing. I was going to say this, has changed the game. And I remember when I was coming up, I think Twitter was just barely starting. It wasn't even a thing yet. And honestly, it wasn't a thing to pull out your phone and film somebody or take a picture of somebody. And I think that's the biggest thing about what some people don't understand. It's like at the end of the day, we're human beings. We like to go out just as much as anybody else, and have some drinks and have dinner and if we have to maybe stay up late a couple nights, whatever it is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still, you're still human. I mean, we're not robots, when you're out there and you're still trying to go out there and win and do everything possible. But at the same time, you like to enjoy the city just as much as the people that live there.
Yeah, and do you think that's a lost art kind of in the game of baseball now? Because obviously we try to get the guys to go over once in a while. Sometimes we'll say no, sometimes we'll say yes, just for a drink or two. But I feel like that is so good for team camaraderie. It's just go into a bar with the boys, have a booth, and just kind of just bond. I feel like no one really does that anymore like they used to, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what I was alluding to earlier. It's one of those things where it is a lost start. I
No.
mean, I think a lot of the times, I mean, when I was there, it's not like we were fighting for first place or second place, but I think honestly, you take our team camaraderie and it was one of the best. I mean, we all got along. We all went out together on the road. It was like, where are we going to dinner? It wasn't like a pitcher's thing or a position player's thing. It was everyone would always try and get together and go get some dinner somewhere or go get some drinks. And it doesn't mean we're going to go out and go crazy and stuff like that. That's not what it means. It means like, responsibly, have a couple drinks, take it to the house, whatever it was. And but again, I mean, with social media and people just looking for some type of front page tabloid and stuff like that. I think it's obviously changed the game. And honestly, I mean, it's just one of those things where, again, I mean, I just remember when I was younger. I mean, my first year in the big leagues, when it was, where I'm talking like this is 2009. I'm talking like old heads from Kevin Millar and John McDonald, Aaron Hill, and Vernon Wells, those type of guys. And I remember just one night and just having sharing drinks with them at the team hotel, and it was like, man, this young kid from East LA is here amongst these like legendary players, and the fact that they invited me in, I was like, if it made me feel like I was one of them, and I was like I had arrived at the big leagues at the big league level, and I think that was really cool from my rookie year, the fact that they always took me in and took care of me.
What's your relationship with the game of baseball like right now? It's like obviously wasn't the best ending to it. Are you watching a lot? Are you back in there? I see your kids are playing now. Are you falling back in love with it, or are you?
Oh, I mean, yeah, you know what, for a while, Avery, I did lose a little bit of love for it, and rightfully so. Obviously, when you get to the big leagues, you expect, and you sign a contract like the one I did, you expect to have a long career. You expect to spend 10, 12, 15 years in big leagues, and for me, it was like the Toronto Blue Jays. I felt like they gave me so much, and I wanted to give so much back to them, and obviously, it didn't work out like that. And it took me a couple years. I mean, because one, being hurt and trying to come back and your body's not feeling the same. And you're just like, all right, I'm going to keep rehabbing. I'm going to keep doing this. And then you go back out to the drawing board, you go back out to the bullpen, and then boom, it starts hurting again. And you're just like, man, my body just doesn't feel right. And I think where I started enjoying it more, honestly, and you mentioned my kids, coaching them, man, honestly, it's been the best thing ever. It really has. It's like we just got done with fall ball a couple weeks ago, and it was a transition from a softer ball into kid pitch, and just seeing that evolution, man. It's like you kind of forget about those moments when you were a kid, and it brought me back, and seeing them and just how scared they are of the ball, and then thinking about the middle of the season towards the end, how they got comfortable and they're in there taking at bats and not scared of the ball, all that stuff. And just, teaching them the game obviously has been a huge blessing for me. And the fact that I'm able to give back to the game in that way. Obviously, sometimes you wish that it was at the professional level, but, for right now, I mean, I have my three little ones. I mean, they're 9, 5, and 3. And I just, those moments, you just can't change them for anything.
I asked this question to Danny Jansen about his 8-month-old if he knew that his dad was a professional baseball player. Do your kids like? Do you sometimes will throw highlights on the TV, be like, your dad was a fucking dog in the big league level? Because I'll be honest with you, man. If I was in your shoes, I would be. The highlights would be on loop on the family television in the living room.
You know what's funny though? I think the first time my daughter, she has no idea. My middle one is starting to have a bit of an idea. The older one, I sometimes now I put like highlights, and I'm like, that's me. And he's like, wait, you were pitching at Yankee Stadium, just, especially when the World Series are going on,
Yeah.
and the Dodgers are playing the Yankees, and I'm like, Daddy pitched at Yankee Stadium, and he goes, no, you didn't. And I'm like, yeah, I did. Look, and matter of fact, I threw a complete game. You want to watch the whole thing?
That's
But
so sick, dude. Holy
but
shit.
but but he got to I think at first when we first went up to Toronto for an event, he came with me and he asked my wife, and he was like, Mommy, why do people want to take pictures with Daddy? Like, why do they want his signature? Like he was so lost in that. And I think the older he's gotten, the last time we were there, I took him with me, and we took batting practice at the Rogers Center, ground balls and stuff like that. And I'm like, listen, dude, this is not stuff that just happens to
Yeah.
kids would do anything to have this chance. So you have to learn how to appreciate it. And I think it started kind of clicking for him that now I mean, it's sometimes embarrassing because we can be like meeting somebody new and he'll be like, yeah, my dad used to play for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I'm like, dude, that's not here, not here. Cut that shit out. But yeah, you can just tell he's starting to realize a little bit about what it is. And it's funny, man, because my kids are the only ones probably in Southern California rolling around in Toronto Blue Jay gear around. So they love it. And you know what? I mean, they always say, "Hey, Dad, can I root for can we root for the Dodgers?" And I'm like,
No.
listen, man, like if we go to the games and they're not playing the Blue Jays and you want to root for them, go ahead. But they know where their alliance stands, and they know, and I think they love it, man. They love Vladdy. Every time Sebastian, my oldest, meets Vladdy or talks to Vlad, it's like he's just like in awe. Like, and I'm like, 10 times, dude. Like he doesn't change. It's the same guy.
There's a lot of talk during the free agent time of people like not coming to Canada, obviously from LA area. Do you think there's a bigger difference going to Canada or East Coast, West Coast? Because there's a guy like Jock Peterson who's from California. He gets traded there, but like he's always going back to California. So I think there could be some difference on that. What do you think of that? East Coast, West Coast versus going and playing Canada?
I mean, I think people don't realize how great they have it in Toronto. And I'm not talking just about the city, the organization, what goes on behind closed doors, the people working to advertise the team. And I've gotten a chance to know all of them. And I'm not talking about Shapiro or Atkins or guys like that. I'm talking about the women in charge in that organization. And those women, I mean, are at the forefront, and they're doing everything possible to try and sell this team, and and making the moves that go unnoticed. Like nobody notices these moves, and I think I've heard from a lot of players that they say, man, like nobody treats you better than the Toronto Blue Jays when it comes to families, when it comes to making sure you have a place to live, when it comes to making sure you have everything that's needed in this country, and whatever it is in the city. And I think they really do cater to their players, and they really take care of their players. And I don't think players realize that till they're actually there. And I wish that was a big selling point where it's like, listen, yeah, the so and so team might do this, but this is what we have to offer for you and your family and your kids. And I think that goes a long way. I mean, I'm sure you guys have spoken to guys like Kevin Gosman and guys who have families, and I'm sure they probably say the same thing, that Toronto Blue Jays do a great job of taking care of their families. And I didn't have a family when I was there, but I watch it now, and I'm like, just the way they treat my family, and I'm like, wow, I can just imagine if I had kids when I was playing here.
Do you sometimes look at the facilities they have now and go like, why didn't we do this shit 10 years earlier when I was playing? Because, man,
1,000%.
the weight room is insane. The spring training facility is like out of this world. It's like Elon Musk built it. Like it's just bananas. Do you look at that and you're like, what the fuck? Where
Oh
was
yeah,
this when I was here?
all the time. And I haven't seen the Dunedin facilities, but everyone says they're amazing. But I've seen the in Toronto facilities, and I'm like, fuck, we only had two treadmills, two bikes, one squat rack, and we had a bunch of weight training equipment that nobody used. It was just like kind of dumbbells. And now they have fucking these like crazy looking treadmills, bikes, and you name it, man. They have it all. I mean, they have a whole um uh just like a conditioning room just for strictly conditioning, and then they have the
Sure.
weight room, and they like a track and this and that. So I mean, again, it's the evolution of the game, right? I mean, this is where it's trending, and it's trendy to do that right now. And if you want to get free agents and attract free agents, you got to have nice facilities. And for me, I look at something like that, and I'm also like, man, hopefully they get a chance to host the All-Star game soon, because that city would go wild in mid-July if they got the chance to host the All-Star game.
Did Avery just freeze?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm freezing like crazy. Saga, I'll get it, edit it. My computer does not want to work, but it'll figure it out. So this year, Justin Turner signs with the Jays as a guy you went to college with. How insane was that to happen? And just such a weird thing for a guy to still be playing at this age.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to give credit to him, right? I mean, and the fact that his career, wasn't a you would have never thought that he'd be the player that he is now. And even looking at him in college, I always knew he was going to be a big leaguer. I mean, that was without a doubt. I mean, the way he went about it, he was that guy that was thinking with the manager, like he just had that instinct for the game, and obviously not a high draft pick, fought his way through. I mean, I faced him when he was in Baltimore, and then faced him when he was at the New York Mets. So that those moments were always pretty cool, because we were literally roommates for 3 years at Fullerton, and we won a national championship together and all that. And the fact that you're still watching him on TV, and then like you said, he comes and plays for the Toronto Blue Jays, a team that you know I was drafted by, and many years later he's there playing for the Toronto Blue Jays. Obviously, it was a pretty cool moment, and again, you got to give credit to him, to his, I mean, to his body, that the fact that it's been able to hold up for this long, and have the career that he's had. I mean, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's Justin Turner was awesome here. I know people on the internet like to talk about Jay signings, but he was like one of the best free agent bats, not named Otani this season, with weighted runs created plus wise. But speaking of guys you did play with, you got to kind of see the evolution at firsthand of the careers of Joey Bats and Edwin Encarnacion. Were you watching these guys in practice or spring training and did you have an inkling that that those guys were going to be as good as they were? And how awesome was it to kind of see guys just revive their career right in front of you?
Oh, dude, it was the sickest thing ever. I mean, it was so cool. I mean, I remember the first time I used to sit next to Bautista in the dugout all the time. This is when he wasn't playing, and he was, honestly, when you look at my debut, he was third baseman, and he wasn't even a right fielder at the time yet. So he actually I watched the highlights not long ago, and he made a diving play to save a bases loaded with two outs and got the out at first base. So credit to him, I was able to get the first dub as in my first career start. But watching his evolution, I remember always saying, like, man, if this guy gets a chance to play every day, he's got it. Like, he's just got to get that chance. And I know he's given a lot of credit to like guys like Dwayne Murphy and Cito Gastin for believing in him. And that is true. I mean, I remember just once he got the opportunity to play every single day, it was like, whoa, like this is cool. And then you watches what he does in 2010, and you're just like, man, like this is history happening in front of our eyes. And then, and I have a front row seat. And then 11, and he just kept carrying it on. And honestly, I mean, that one of the things that still kills me to this day is that I wasn't there in that dugout in 2015 for the bat flip game and stuff like that. Obviously, that was the year that I got released, and I was trying to come back, and it just wasn't working for me. And then obviously watching Edwin. I mean, Edwin was another cool story because he got DFA'd. He went to Oakland, and then Oakland let him go just out of nowhere, and then we picked him back up, and then he just went off. And I remember Edwin had it rough, man. I mean, at third base, and they had all these nicknames for him. And, I'd always joke with him. I'm like, bro, like, why the fuck do you always make an error when I'm pitching and you're at third? And I'd always just bust his chops, about it. And he'd always like laugh about it again. I mean, it was whatever. I mean, it's part of the game. And I just remember when he started going off, and I was like, Edwin, remember we sat there in the dugout one time, and I was like, remember when all these fans would boo you and they wanted to kill you for every time you'd make an error? And he just started laughing. He was like, yeah, man, this is the way the game is. Like in a very humble way, he goes, this is the way the game is, man. When you're on top, everyone wants to cheer for you, and when you're struggling, everyone's going to find a way to put you down. And I think he had a great perspective, and that's why I think once he started to be successful, it's like whether he was, on a hot streak or wasn't on a hot streak, like you just never saw the difference in Edwin. And just such a pro, man. I mean, sitting in between those two guys and learning the game of hitting was always special for me because they had a plan. They knew what to do every time they came up to the plate. Like Edwin would be like, so and so has a great curveball. I'm going to sit on that curveball. He's going to throw it to me, and I'm going to hit a home run eventually. He could come and take 3 fastballs down the middle. And I'd be like, what the heck, dude? And he'd be like, he didn't throw me that curveball, but he's going to throw me that curveball in a special situation, and I'm going to hit it out for a home run. And then sure enough, he'd get it, boom, wouldn't miss it. And then you're just like, holy shit. Like these guys just, the way they think, the way they, and I always would say that it was bullshit that they could pick up spin. I'm like, dude, how do you guys spin on balls, man? I mean, that shit's coming in hard, fast, and like you're telling me you can slow it down that much that you can see the spin of the ball, and they're like, oh yeah, like you can see this, you can see the rotation, and I'm like, godly, because I've been in batter's box before in a big league box, and let me tell you, that shit ain't easy, man. Like after my first career at bat, I turned to our hitting coach, Dwayne Murphy, and I said, I will never, ever, ever talk shit on a big league hitter or any hitter ever in as long as I live, because that shit is hard, man.
You have 2 hits though.
Yeah,
I do.
You have to like
And
it's
everyone here, if you walk up to my man cave, we're actually hosting a pretty big holiday party, and so I can't pull the stuff down. Although I feel like my wife would want me to just get rid of all that shit. Thing that sits on a mantle or framed up is the bat and the batting gloves that I use for that. I bet I'm retiring them. They're done. Nobody's ever using them. And yeah, man. I mean, it's cool that I got to win strikeouts in the big leagues, but the fact that I have a hit with bases loaded and 2 RBIs, I can die a happy man.
So
yeah.
so I talked to Edwin Jackson. I had him like we follow each other, so I talk to him every once in a while. And he used to tell me some stuff like the evolution and the changing of the players nowadays. Like everyone now is focusing on spin, they're focusing on their exit velocity, all that type of stuff. What's the biggest difference you see in the training regiment now compared to back in the day, where guys just like slugging beers every once in a while in the clubhouse, like no one really went to the weight room? Like what was like what's the biggest evolution you have seen as a former player?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's um I mean, I haven't been in a clubhouse now, so I really don't know, but just on the outside looking in and seeing what guys are doing, I mean, you're seeing more of these like weighted ball programs and velocity, and I'm worried about how hard I'm throwing. And when you look at yes, at post game you sit there with your team and maybe have a couple beers. I feel like that doesn't happen very often nowadays from what I hear.
Yeah.
But I think when it came to working, we had a lot of workhorses. And obviously, you guys know, you guys grew up in the city. I mean, Roy Halladay, watching him work and go about his business, I mean, it was about as serious as it got. And I mean, I'm not saying, I always say like, Doc did work hard, but we all tried to work just as hard as him. Obviously, we weren't as successful as he was, but we try to follow in his footsteps. And I think that's kind of like the biggest thing. I think the game of baseball, I'll be honest with you guys, the game of baseball is so hard. And I feel like nowadays we've made it even harder. It's like all of a sudden, like be careful if the starter goes third time through the lineup because that is for sure can't happen, or
Yeah.
so and so is facing so and so because that can't happen. And I'm like, the game of baseball is so unpredictable, and I feel like it's not a video game where you can just control it and you can control these guys to do something that you just expecting them to do. It just doesn't work like that. And I think sometimes, you watch the World Series and it's funny because it always happens like this, little fundamental things that a team fucks up. That's who ends up losing the World Series. And sure enough, not covering first base and stuff like that, like all that stuff just becomes even bigger in the grand scheme of things. And I think sometimes we're worried about the wrong things. Again, I'm not somebody that bashes analytics. I mean, I actually have taken the time to learn a little bit about them. And I feel like when you blend them together with a good team, I think that's a team that's successful because analytics are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. I mean, but I think when you have it dictate certain moves and the numbers are showing this, and rather than trusting your eyes and the stuff like that, I think that's when it's a recipe for disaster at times.
When you see how a guy like Blake Snell is used, where he's going 5, 6 innings every time, and back in the day when you were playing, it was like, okay, 9 is. It's like, do you think like what happened to the game I loved, man? Like the 9 innings, that was the top of it.
I think it was special, man. I mean, I think honestly, I took pride in that, and that's because I had Doc in front of me, and I was like, if he goes CJ, I want to go CG. I want to see what it's like. And you know what? Honestly, nobody appreciates it more than the bullpen. And I feel like, we talk a lot about, making sure the starters stay healthy, this and that. Well, what about the bullpen? We fucking wear them out the first month of the season, the first 2 months of the season. They're nowhere to be found in September and hopefully October. You need those guys late in the season to make a run. And I feel like it's happened to the Blue Jays at times where these guys are just getting ran out there, nonstop. Throughout a week, you're making 2, 3 appearances, and honestly, the starters. I mean, for us, there was some pride. Like, all right, we're gonna try and give them enough days off because there's gonna come a time where we do really need them, and the starters are not gonna be doing their job that they really have to like help us out. But any chance that we got, I mean, Cito was a gangster, man. Like he was just like, go. Like, how do you, he'd come out? How do you feel? I feel great. All right, you got this, man. I'm gonna give it to you. And then you come out of there, and honestly, it makes you feel even better. You're just like, man, I just got to do 8 innings. I didn't have my best shit, but he stuck with me, and I gave up 2 runs, and now my bullpen just has to get 3 outs. They don't have to get 9 outs. Where he could have taken me out in the sixth inning, but he let me. I had a good sixth, seventh, and eighth inning, and now that the ninth inning belongs to the closer. So I just feel like bridging that gap between starters to relievers has become a lost art. It's just five and then boom, five and dive, six, and then we're out. Let's get it to our bullpen really quick because again, bullpen, they're still humans too. They're still pitchers. They're still gonna, not have their best stuff from night to night. And sometimes I feel like we just put so much emphasis on these relievers.
And you spoke about Roy Halladay, who is mine and Avery's probably favorite player, not named Carlos Delgado. I was about 12 when he stopped playing for the Jays, but all my best memories growing up is of watching Roy Halladay pitch. What was it like watching it from the dugout, man? I mean, you got to see it firsthand. You got to see him go about his business. What was it like playing with the Doc, man? Just
Oh, man.
one of the best pitchers ever.
Yeah, I mean, I always say this. I had front row seats to greatness every fifth day. That's pretty much the way I put it. I mean, and him and I, our relationship grew the more um my rookie year went. Obviously, he was a tough cookie to break. Honestly, he was like he wouldn't give you the time and date. He didn't. I didn't he didn't give a shit who you were or what kind of background you were coming with, or or if I was a first rounder. He didn't even care. Like it was like the established guys he'd talk to, and it's almost like not in a bad way. You almost had to earn his respect, and I could always, when you're somewhere and you can just feel somebody looking at you, and you're just kind of looking around. You're like, okay, this guy's watching like how I go about my business. And I think I try to emulate a lot of the work ethic that he brought. Like I'm like, all right, what is he doing on this day? Oh, he's in the computer room. I mean, he had a freaking like book like this thick, like of just notes. And I'm like, remember I asked him once, I was like, Doc, I was like, you're watching film on the Boston Red Sox and Big Poppy, like you faced them hundreds of times. Like what are you looking for? And he goes, well, you know, he he's making certain adjustments to me. So I got to make sure I'm on top of his
Wow.
shit so that I can make sure I dominate his ass next time we see him. And I'm like, oh, like you're just on another level. And
Wow.
And I thought always that was always pretty special. Not that everyone has that type of work ethic or that type of mindset. I mean, there's big leaguers and then there's Hall of Famers for a reason. And then I feel like he was that guy that was just on another level when it came to studying the game and when it came to executing his pitches. I mean, it was a thing of beauty, right? I mean, you guys watched it, and just to watch him work, you're just like, man, like, and it was nothing over like I shouldn't say overpowering because that shit was overpowering, but
Yeah.
it wasn't max effort, 100 miles per hour. It was the art of pitching. That's what it was. Like he knew how to dissect the hitter. And I remember, I'll never forget this little funny story. This is when Bryce Harper was still in junior college and there was so much hype around him. And I remember we're sitting there and they're talking about we're in the video room and they're talking about Bryce Harper and he's like sitting there really quiet and watching this. I think there was highlights on TV or something, and he just gets up and he goes, "Got him." And I'm like, "Got him? What do you mean?" He goes, "I don't know how to get his ass out." Dude, this kid is 18 years old, man. Like,
He should have been a senior in high school when he was in junior college.
but his mindset was already like, this guy's gonna be in the big league soon, and I'm gonna have to face him type thing. Like it was like, I got him. Like I know what I would do to him if I faced him. And I was like, man, like that's just crazy thinking. That the fact that you're just thinking like that. And another funny story. I've told this story before, and I'll go down memory lane a little bit. I don't know if you guys remember. It was in '09. Adam Lynn had hit 3 home runs at Fenway Park, and Jonathan Papelbon smoked him right in the tricep, put Adam out for I think for like a week or so, like smoked him. And Papelbon's looking in our dugout, kind of saying like, my bad," and everyone's motherfucking him. And I'm just a rookie, so I'm just kind of like, what the heck's going on? Like, oh, like it's gonna happen. So then the next day comes and Doc's pitching, and it just speaks to what kind of teammate Doc was. Brad Arnsberg was our pitching coach, and he comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, young buck, you ready?" And I was like, "Ready for what?" He goes, "Doc's gonna get Big Poppy," and I'm like, "No way, no way." And he goes, "Oh yeah," and so yeah, first at bat, Big Poppy comes up right off the forearm. Luckily, Poppy wore obviously the big pad. The
Yeah.
ball hit him so hard that the ball like bounced all the way behind Hilly, I think, at second base. Like that's how hard it bounced. And Big Poppy, I thought that was the coolest sign of respect. Big Poppy just like looked at him and he just nodded his head, took off his elbow guard, and walked to first base. And I was like, shit, like that is dope. And then years later, I heard the story about Doc because he was such a controlled pitcher that he was in the bullpen working on that fastball, four seam fastball because he didn't throw any four seamers, four seam fastball up and in, up and in, up and in, up and in to the lefty. That he was literally working on. He was such a perfectionist that he was working on that pitch so that he make sure he didn't miss, and obviously he didn't miss.
That
You're yeah, that's so sick.
that's
Your
so
your
sick.
best days here, and whenever I think Ricky Romero, I think the black Blue Jays jersey with the huge maple leaf patch. Did you
Right.
love it at the time? Some people hated it, but it's just like I think Ricky Romero, and I love those jerseys, man.
Oh man, I mean, it was my first big league jersey, and I think I never took it for granted, and I think that's why it's special for me. Obviously, it's not the most popular jersey, or I've
No.
heard a lot of people talk shit about it, and even the hat. I mean, when you look at it now compared to the uniforms they have now, I'm like, why the fuck did we ever make that switch? Like our uniform, I think the uniforms now are just beyond beautiful. I mean, it's just what it is. And I remember we wore the retros one year when the one of the teams, I can't remember if it was 92 or 93. It was their anniversary. And I was like, man, these uniforms are so dope. And I still think they should bring the two-tone hat back, the
Yeah,
white.
I like
Yes.
that.
That to me is the most classic looking hat, and it's just such a beautiful hat. But yeah, man, I mean, I am not that I'm forced to like the black one, but that's just kind of what I made my debut in, and I love it, man. I mean, I love it.
What about
During
what about the T hat? Just the
Oh,
T in the
I
black.
know. I mean, like I said, you compare it to the one now, and you're like, man, that was pretty brutal. Like,
Yeah.
who came up with the logo?
I mean, listen, it's bad memories for us as fans because we never saw a playoff appearance or like a good team, like a really
I
good
know.
team.
I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear
and that.
you. And
But
I know what. I know one year they went for it, right? I mean, they went and got AJ Burnett, BJ Ryan, Troy Gloss. I mean, I'm bringing back a lot Frank Thomas, and you
Yeah.
just
Frank the Tank.
I bought a Frank Thomas black Jays jersey
Oh yeah,
this
that
year.
jersey plays. That's a great party jersey. You wear out to the pool with the boys. You wear the Frank the Tank jersey. Ricky Romero jersey's up there as well. But my favorite, obviously, the best season for you was that All-Star season where you were just absolutely fucking shoving. But I'm not even going to talk about the on the field stuff. I gotta ask you, when you are pitching as well as you were pitching then, was there a little bit of cockiness behind you, like I am a fucking dog? Because you are mowing down big league hitters. You're an all-star. You're the best pitcher on the team. You were the face of the franchise. Like, how awesome was that as just a person? Like, that's unreal.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, man. It's one of those things where you have to have that type of mentality, especially when you're in the big leagues, and especially when you're in the AL East, especially at that time. It was like it was the gauntlet, man. I mean, that's what we used to call it. Like we're running the gauntlet. We're going up against Boston, New York, back to back, and then Tampa, and then I mean, Baltimore at the time wasn't very good. But yeah, man. I mean, yeah. To answer your question, yes, I felt like I was the baddest motherfucker on that mound,
My
and
dad used to fucking love you, dude. Like, it was like scheduled TV when Ricky Rowe was on the fucking bump. We're not watching the other guys, but when Ricky Rowe was on the bump, it's fucking scheduled TV. Get your $2 tickets because
yeah,
they
to
was I was
the
thinking $2 back then. We would be at
yeah,
the
man.
ballpark.
And you know what? It was special. It was special because it was one of those things where on start days, especially in 2011, it was like I had the mindset that I was going 9 innings every time. And I remember one time, um, the bullpen was watching me warm up, and I turned around and I threw this flawless bullpen. I don't even think I threw a ball in the. And sometimes those are the scary bullpens because
Yeah.
you're like, I threw a lot of strikes. I'm gonna struggle over there. It's just not gonna. It just never works out together.
Yeah.
And I was just painting everything I threw. And I turned around to one of the bullpen guys and I said, "Hey, you guys have the night off tonight. I'm going." And I did go 9. And I remember the one of the bullpen guys came in after the game. He goes, "Holy shit! I've never heard anybody say that." And then I was like, "I told you, dude. I was feeling that good." And forget who we were playing, but man, like yeah, that 2011 was so special. Just, I mean, there's just that mindset that you take and that you feel when you're out there. You're just like, even if I give up 2, 3 runs, which we talk about what the difference in the game is. Like now, you give up 2, 3 runs, and it's like let's yank him quick. Before it was like let him work through it and he'll find his groove. For me, I was a guy that sometimes I'd start off slow, give up 2, 3 runs in the first 2 innings, and then I'd settle in and I could just mow right through the lineup. And I feel like I always had that that uh that extra boost of confidence that like, you know what, they're gonna rely on me, and then I gotta go out there and do my job. And if I give up 2 runs, I was like, all right, this is where it stops. I give my team a chance to win, and that's all I care about. And I feel like if I did that, then I had just done my job. And I mean, 11 was special, man. It was so cool. It was so cool to be to be that good for that year. And obviously in 2012, shit didn't go my way, but you know, when I had a chance to kind of sit back and look at it and here in our home in LA, and we were sitting, you know, I mean, my wife played soccer and for Canada, and she was it was one of those things where she dealt with her share of injuries too, 3 ACLs, same knee, and just the same thing, man. I mean, it was one of those things where our careers were cut short because of injuries. And we sat in our living room one day and she goes, what do you what do you take from this game? Like, how are you gonna look at yourself, like, you know, in the future? Or like, are you gonna continue to be bitter? Are you gonna continue to be mad about like the way it should have turned out, but it didn't turn out? And I was like, I sat there and honestly, it took me like a good like 24 hours to kind of dissect everything. And I woke up the next day and I was like, you know what? I'm a fucking big leaguer. Like I did it. You know, like when you look at the number of big leaguers that have gotten a chance to do that in this world, in the whole world, in the greatest league in the world, there isn't very many. And I got to do that, and I got to do it for 4 years. So I should be proud of that. And I think that's when I kind of hit me that I was like, you know what? Fuck it. If I don't get back to the big leagues ever again, I did it. I felt it. I was, you know,
You an all-star, man. Like,
yeah,
like
that I started 2 opening days. Did I want to get a chance to be in the playoffs, to win a World Series? Of course, but you know what? Some of the best Hall of Famers don't get a taste of that either. And the fact that I'm part of that fraternity forever, I mean, is beyond special.
How do you think the Jays handle their alumni relations? Because we're from Toronto. The Leafs seem to be like the best in the NHL, and we get some good stuff for the Jays coming back. Do you like all the stuff that they do, and you think they've done a good job?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah. I mean, I've gotten a chance to kind of stay involved with the organization through the alumni program and stuff like that. I do understand, and I know when I was coming up, I mean, um this is when it was Alex Anthopoulos and when he was the GM. I mean, you had George Bell, you had Tim Raines, you had Robbie, you had I mean legends, man. You had Dave Steve. Like the cool thing is that you might not have watched these guys play, like I didn't, but you took the time to actually go research them and you're like, holy shit, Dave Steve, like holy
Yeah.
fucking you just like you Pat Hankin, and you just always had them around in spring training. And I don't know what it's like now because I've never gotten that invite. I don't know. I mean, I've seen some pictures of guys that go back, but I don't know if it was like it was before. But from an alumni standpoint, I know when they were hosting, the Winter Fest and all that. I mean, that was so dope because they bring everyone. They bring the current players to all the alumni from McGriff to Tim Raines and Hall of Fame guys like that, George Bell, Joe Carter, and you just have all these guys all in one room with the current players, and I always thought that was pretty cool. And for the most part, I think they always do such a good job of trying to keep the alumni together. Obviously, everyone has different lives and families and stuff like that, and when it comes to these events, not everyone's always available, but for the most part, I think they do such a good job, and they try to keep us engaged as much as possible. And I'm someone that goes back a lot. Obviously, we have a house there, and I'll be there in like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, and I can't wait, man. Like I love fucking going back to the city.
We'll get
There's
some
just
beers when you're back. We'll get some beers. Not a saloon night. They didn't let me have a hat in there. Told me to take it off at the fucking door, and I was looking like shit. But and we're talking about legends. You got to play for a legend, Cito Gastin. Obviously, I wasn't alive for the World Series runs and all of that. But do you have any funny stories of Cito Gastin? Because tons of people talk about him being like an old school manager, which is something the game kind of misses nowadays. But what was it like playing for Cito? And do you have any funny stories for the people?
Yeah, well, I mean, Cito didn't like pitchers very much, man. Like, you can just tell it was very old school, honestly. It was very old school, and it was something that was like worn by everyone. Like, hey, man, like Cito doesn't like pitchers. He wants you to go out there and do your job, and he's expecting you to fucking have big nuts and go out there and compete. Like that's what he wants to see. And the funny story, and we sit back and laugh about it all the time now because I every time I see him, I tell him the story, and he always starts cracking up. We were in Philadelphia, and I was making my first interleague start. We're going up against Cole Hamels, Chase Utley, Ryan Howard,
Holy shit.
Jamie Reno, Jimmy Rollins, Chooch behind the plate. Like just, I think this was a team that was maybe went to the World Series or maybe won it the following year. I'm not sure, but they were loaded, man. They were one of the best teams in the National League. And there I am pitching against them. Uh, First guy, Jimmy Rollins, double down the line. Chase Utley, three pitches in. Chase Utley, base hit. And I had thrown three pitches, three fastballs. He walks out of the dugout, and I was like, "Fuck! Like, what's going on?" And Rod Barajas is catching, and he kind of looks at him, and he starts walking to the mound too. And I'm like, "Well, I'm not hurt. Like, is he taking me out?" And he just like with a straight face, he goes, "If you don't throw your fucking curveball, you're gonna be out of this fucking game soon." And walks away. And that was it. And and Barajas is like covering his mouth, like, holy shit, like trying not to laugh. And he just like he doesn't say a word to me, and he just turns around and walks away. And I was like, all right. And it's one of those where you kind of just tip your hat up and you're just like rubbing the ball and you're like, what the fuck just happened? Like it's three pitches in. And I think we faced Cole Hamels that night, and said I think my first three career at bats was bases loaded, second and third bases loaded. So strikes me out the first two times. And then the third time I look back to see if he's pinch hitting for me, and he goes, and I was dealing, man. Like I was on a heater. And I look back at him and I'm like, should I go? And he goes, just fucking go. And he lets me go out and strike out again.
Dude, the art of pitchers hitting is something I kind of miss. Like we talked about it with Gausman. Gausman was actually a good hitter, but it's just hilarious watching someone that obviously doesn't practice it as much as the hitters do
Oh, dude,
step in the box.
I'm telling you, man, like the batter's box is a lot bigger than you think it is. Like when I started walking to it, I was like, where the and I've hit before in high school, but I wasn't a good hitter. I never claimed to be. And I was like, where the fuck do my feet go? Like, like just saw this giant thing, and I'm like, how? And
Yeah,
then
as
I'm
far back as possible.
right, yeah. And then I'm looking back, and Chuch, Carlos Ruiz is kind of like laughing, like I'm like in Spanish because I speak Spanish. I was like, I don't know where to put my feet, man. Like I don't. And then like you finally get comfortable, and then you look up, and it's fucking Cole Hamels. You know, he's like 6'4" and he's in his prime, and I'm like, holy shit, these guys are fucking close. I didn't realize how close 60 feet 6 inches look till you step in the batter's box.
Yeah.
And especially at the big league level. And then he throws me the first fastball, and you think it's like 15 inches away, and then you look back and it's like right down the middle, and I'm like, how the fuck do you hit that? How do you hit that? And then he starts, he obviously doesn't want to give up a bullshit hit to me, so he starts throwing his nasty changeup, curveballs, and I'm like, dude, I have no chance, no chance. But that was a funny Cito story. Like I always bust his chops about it, and then his comeback is always like, well, how'd it go? I was like, well, from like 7 innings. He goes, you're welcome, and then he just walked away.
When you get to watch the current team now, what are your thoughts on the roster, some of the guys here, and just how things kind of shook out over the
Yeah, man.
past couple of years?
I mean, and that's the thing. That's a cool thing. Like I get a chance to whenever I get a chance now. I mean, I'm not as much as I used to. And I sit down. I mean, obviously, you guys see it a lot. I mean, Vladdy and just a special talent that he is. And I just, and I know, people like to give a lot of crap about Bo, but he's special too, man. I mean, he just went through that year where it was a lot of injuries and just couldn't stay healthy, and that's always tough mentally more than anything. Physically, obviously, it takes a toll on your body, but mentally, I'm sure, guy likes to win, likes to play, and everything I've ever heard about him is that he's a hard worker, man. Like he wants it just as much as anybody, and people are quick to shit on guys when they're going through slumps and stuff like that. And I always I'm always like, just take a step back, man. Like these guys are not trying to go out there and fail. Like they're trying to get healthy. Like at the end of the day, they're a human being. And when you look at those two guys, they're definitely two type of guys that can be the cornerstones to a franchise. And you hope the whole Vladdy thing gets settled quick. And I hope they sign him to that contract extension that everyone's waiting for. Because if it doesn't happen, just I mean, buckle up, man. It might get ugly for the Toronto Blue Jays and the organization. So hopefully they're able to, come to, I don't even know if they're in negotiations or not, but you kind of hope they are. And you look at the pitching side, obviously, again, last year it's tough to judge it off last year just because of the injuries and stuff like that. But I was at that game a few years ago where they lost to Seattle, and obviously that's a hard one to still think about. But you almost felt like that was a team that was built to win, and can they get back to that point? Absolutely. And there's a few pieces, they still need some pieces, but I think the cornerstones are there in Vladdy and Bo, and they just have to come out and have good years. And again, when you look at Gosman and his shit, man, I mean, he is about as electric as it gets. And Jose Barrios, another guy that had a great year. I mean, Chris Bassett, I mean, he's a guy that I like Chris because it's old school, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're watching him go out there and he gives up threes. He's the type of guy to tell the manager, leave me in. Like he's not gonna be like, oh yeah, man, like I'm protecting my numbers. Not, man, I'm gonna go out there and fucking give you 7 if I have to. If I give up 5 runs, I'm gonna give you 8, whatever it is. And I think you like that kind of mentality in your starter. And obviously they're gonna have, with Romano and that closer situation. I think that's where we're hurting the most. I mean, I think that's that back end of the bullpen is where we need to find guys that can get that job done. And as you've seen, I mean, that's sometimes where games are won or lost, and you want to have somebody that's reliable back there and somebody that's going to get, you just want to get to that point where it gets to the 9th inning and you're like, the game's fucking over.
Yeah.
But there's very few guys nowadays. I mean, there's very few guys that don't have that luxury anymore. I mean, I feel like when I was playing, it was like Mariano, you had Papelbon, and you just knew when those guys were coming in with a 1 or 2 run lead, it was game over. You're just like, shit, like it's over. And I feel like right now, a lot of teams have faced those challenges of finding that true closer that can come in and shut the door. And hopefully they're able to find somebody and fill in those gaps because I feel like this team, obviously the Yankees are going to be the Yankees, Boston's going to be Boston. And I almost feel like you do have to match them, not dollar for dollar, but kind of keep up with them because I feel like, let's be honest, let's call a spade a spade. The Toronto Blue Jays minor league system is not equipped to bring up guys right now and say, you know what, this is going to be our next star. They're struggling in that department, and hopefully they continue to build that department up because it is crucial in bringing up those guys and drafting right. I mean, we've seen other organizations draft guys and bring them up, and they're successful and stuff like that. So you want to see that part of the Toronto Blue Jays again. I'm a guy that loves rooting for them, even here in LA, and I love turning on the TV and watching them play. So I do want to see them succeed. Why? Because it's always special when you go watch a fucking playoff game at the Rogers Center.
Oh man, I was at that 8-1 game when they blew it, and people were taking pictures of me, slouched in my seat all over social media. So that wasn't good. But other than that, that was a fun game. But during your playing career, did you ever have a time where you were facing a guy and you're like, I cannot fucking believe I'm facing blank right now? Like, who was that guy for you?
I mean, there was a couple, but the number one guy, Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, that was a guy. I mean, that really was the guy. I mean, growing up for me, and I'm an '84 baby, and the '90s was all about Ken Griffey Jr. and seeing that batting stance, Ken Griffey Jr. video game, Ken Griffey Jr. shoes, batting gloves. Everyone wanted to be like the kid. So when I got that chance to face him, it was a holy fuck moment. It was in Seattle, and I was like, holy shit, that's him. And then batting stands, and you kind of almost like I stepped out of the pitching mound and I kind of regathered myself, and I was like, all right, I got to get this motherfucker out and get too caught up, you
Who
know.
was? Yeah, that's. I mean, the kid is just so sick. Who? Okay, who's one guy that you can never get out? Like, who was one player you can never get out during your
Well,
career?
I think if you look at the baseball references, this is because my group of friends always likes to make fun of me and they bring up old shit and sometimes they're like, "Oh yeah, this guy fucking owned you." Johnny Damon for some reason, man. Johnny Damon was fucking hard on me and it was lefty on lefty too, like lefty on lefty crime. Like, and I always would come up to him and I'm like, "Bro, what do you see?" He goes, "Brick, you're fucking nasty." That's all he would ever say. You're nasty. And I'm like, apparently not to you. Like, holy shit. Like him, and on the right side, it was Dustin Pedroia and Kevin Youkilis were always really hard. Pedroia was badass, man.
So sick.
Like he was just one of those guys that, from the other side of the dugout, for me, I loved and enjoyed watching him play. Just he was so dope, man. For his size and the way he walked around like he was fucking 7 feet tall, and he knew it too. Like there was like that we talk about aura, like he had it, man. Like and he wasn't like standoffish. Like I mean, we knew each other from college and playing against each other, so we always had a pretty cool relationship, but man, he was dope to watch play, man. Like he was one of my favorite players, like playing against that I was because he was so tough. And I think he would be a Hall of Famer if he would have stayed healthy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How's are you done school yet? I saw you went back.
Oh, no, man. Like, I mean, I wish I can show you like my shit. I'm like, there's papers everywhere all over my table because I'm going.
It's
This is
almost
my
finals, right?
Yeah, this is my last week, and then it's finals next week. We have a huge holiday. We host a huge holiday party here for the parent or like for our family and friends around here around this area. And I thought this was finals week, so I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and book it on the this coming up Saturday. And I'm like, fuck, I have finals in like 2 days after that. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. Now I feel like I'm gonna feel like straight college style
Yeah.
types right now, but it's close. I'll finish this semester, have one winter session class, and then have 4 classes left for next semester, and then I graduate, man. And it's been cool. I mean, it's been a cool little process. It's been a lot of motherfucking. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, just like, why the fuck am I doing this? I'll go to the athletic academic affairs office all the time, and I'm done. I'm quitting. Like, why the fuck did I come and do this at 40 years old? But you know what? Honestly, it's been pretty cool. I mean, I think I'm looking at the light at the end of the tunnel, and seeing watching my kids, and they're gonna see daddy graduate, and I can add that to the resume now and have a college degree. I think that's going to be really special.
And then
Well,
one last one for me. The next Ricky coming up in the system is Ricky Tiedemann,
our
the other
guy, our guy. His
lefty.
mom leaked my phone number. His mom leaked my phone number online, but he's our guy. Yeah, she. So this is like a little Gate 14 lore. So like last year, we were supposed to get him on the podcast. His mom, I gave his, I said like just tell Ricky to text me. So she calls me, and I didn't answer because we're doing a podcast, and they were recording it. Like they're recording her calling me, like surprising me. And I didn't answer, and they tweeted that they were calling me. My phone number's on the screen, and I had like 450 phone calls, like 500 text messages, like just gate 14, like John, all this shit. I had to
Any
block.
girls?
I had to
Any
block
girls? Did you take
500
advantage
numbers.
of it?
No
No,
girls.
No
zero
girls.
girl, zero girls. I had to block like 500 phone numbers. So if you are a listener to this podcast and you try to text me, you will never be able to text or call me again, even if we become boys. But yeah, what is your thoughts on Ricky Tiedemann, man? He's a dog.
Man, filthy. And that's another guy, we talk about homegrown guys coming up. That's obviously one guy that you keep your eye on. And obviously he's dealt with his share of injuries. And again, for the love of God, you just hope that he stays healthy. I mean, and he gets to prove who he is at the big league level, because we've seen how successful he's been at the minor league level. And now it's just like, what's the next step? It's getting him up there and but at the same time making sure he's ready. I mean, the big leagues is a different beast, man. It's the fucking show for a reason.
Yeah.
I always say that, it really is. And only the strong survive. I mean, you can do it for one day, you can do it for 2 days. It's hard to do it for consecutive years. Like I did it for 4+ years, and I can't even, like the guys that you think about like 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years, just like that's a different level. And yeah, man. I mean, I'm rooting for him. I've gotten a chance to text with him. Too. He didn't leak my phone number, luckily, but we've gotten a chance to text with each other. And yeah, I mean, definitely rooting for a guy like him.
And this is the last thing I wanted to bring up, a little bit of a feel good thing. I saw this on YouTube. Your dad got to throw out the first pitch for you at the Rogers Center.
Yeah.
What was that moment like for you? Because that's kind of like a full circle. Obviously, a guy who was with you and got to see you kind of come up through the ranks and stay with you. So, what was that like for you?
Aside from achievements that happen in that stadium, in that uniform, in that organization, that's got to be one of the coolest moments for me, honestly. I mean, it brought me back to the days where my dad and I would be playing catch in our driveway in East Los Angeles, and he it started with no equipment, and then the harder I started throwing, he went and bought full equipment. So you got this grown ass man
Wow.
with equipment on, sitting there and catching me, and we'd sit there honestly like all day. I was so in love with the game of baseball, and he always like had this vision. Not that he didn't play professionally or anything like that, but he always had this vision, and he'd always say like, you know what, man, one day you're gonna be somebody special. And he didn't say what, in what way, how, and nothing. He just said you're one day you're going to be somebody special, and to be able to share that moment, um, when he threw out the first pitch, when they offered it, because that year, WestJet, the Blue Jays had a deal, I think, with WestJet, and they did a thing where on Father's Day they flew all the dads out, and I know they do it in hockey, and I feel
Yeah.
like it should be every single year, because it really is a cool time. That I feel like when you're in season 162 games, you don't get to see your family, especially like your parents, as much as you would like to. So moments like that become even more special. And I know for him, being able to share the field with me and throw out the first pitch, and I remember that hug and him, his voice kind of cracking up. And he's a tough Mexican guy who just doesn't show very much emotion, and his voice cracking and just saying how proud he was of me. I think it sticks out big time. And it's definitely one of those moments. I mean, the Blue Jays did a whole like this like collage of pictures of him like throwing the first pitch, giving us a hug, and giving each other a hug, and then like taking a picture at the end of the first pitch. And they did a whole collage, and we have it hanging in my mom's house. And every time I go in there, I'm like, man, this was a cool moment. And the my kids now get a kick out of it, because they're like, Grandpa, you threw at the Rogers Center? Like, they're always like, get a kick out of it.
Are your like do your kids also love the game of baseball as well? You mentioned your 9-year-old, obviously, like what sometimes watching your highlights talking about Vladdy. Like, do you see, I know it's too early to call, but do they have the same passion and love for the game that you had when you were growing up?
It's a little different, man. I mean, I don't think anybody can can follow what the love that I have. I honestly did not want to play anything other than baseball, and I know we're in an era where, and I believe it, and it's true, kids should be playing all types of sports and all that stuff. Like I 100% agree with that. I didn't do that personally, but I'm an anomaly. Like I was just different. I just wanted baseball, and that was it. I didn't play it year round either, like it is now. Even in Southern California, where we have nice weather the whole year, like I didn't. Like baseball season ended, and it was like I would still be out there playing catch by myself, whatever it was. Anyways, but my kids, the oldest says he wants to play for Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, he does. He always
Nice.
says it. I'm like, well, it takes hard work. He goes, really? Like, how hard really is it to get to the big leagues? That like, I'm like, well, one day you're gonna find out. But he loves it. Again, it's never. He's not the type of kid that I have to push to practice. He's excited about practice. Now, getting him to work is a different thing because it's just like, oh, Dad, no, I want to do this. I want to do that. And I'm like, you know what? Do as you like. You're 8 years old. You're 9 years old. We live in a time where parents, I feel like, are like so pushy. Like they think that their kids are going to be big leaguers next year or the following year. And then I'm like, nah, man, just take it slow. At the end of the day, enjoy these moments with your kids. And I think that's the biggest thing. Do I get competitive with him? Of course. Like, I mean, you can never take that fire away from me. But at the same time, I think I'm able to take a step back and just make sure he's enjoying the game because that's what's important. If he enjoys it, then the rest is going to take care for itself. I mean, I hope that they have the genes that, two athletic parents, they can carry on. My little one, the little girl, she's gonna be a dope ass. She's gonna be dope. I think she's the toughest one out of both out of all three. So she I always tell Cara, I always tell her, I'm like, we're gonna make her the number one player in the country at one point. And she goes, well, who is she gonna play for? Team Canada or Team USA? And I'm like,
Canada's kind of a wagon. I'll be honest. Canada women's soccer is kind of good. I think they won the gold a couple
they're
years
really
ago.
good. They're
Yeah, they
really
are good.
good.
But anyways,
And
Ricky, man, I mean, this is long overdue. Obviously, we met last year. Great guy. A lot of me and Avery's childhood memories was watching you pitch. So you play a
you
fond
guys are
memory,
making me
especially.
feel old, man.
No, no.
Well, I'm 27. I'm a young. I'm starting to get up there as well. Like some of our followers probably don't even remember like Aaron Hill, Frank Catalan. They don't remember any of that shit. So I'm starting to feel old now. But it was a pleasure, man. You're an
Thanks, Ricky.
electric
It was cool,
factory.
man.
So awesome to have
Absolutely.
you on
Well,
here, man. And best of luck, whatever you got going forward. Best of luck in your exams, by the
Yeah,
way. I mean,
finals.
I'm a community college graduate in Nebraska, and Avery didn't graduate school, so don't look to us for help. But we'll be rooting for you once those are done.
hey, hey, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, fellas. And let's definitely, if we get a chance to do it again during season or whatever, don't hesitate. I mean, I'm usually here if I'm not on the golf course, if or in a classroom, I'm usually hanging around the house. So let's definitely do this again. And if I get up to Toronto, or when I get up to Toronto, if I have a chance, let's definitely meet up for a drink or something.
Awesome.
There we
Thanks,
go.
Rick.